You have to understand what surveillance techniques are and what amount of funds they would allocate for whatever operation you are doing. Obviously. That's why it's like a piece of string. Yeah, I was getting annoyed. I mean, my string got caught in here, and I said, you know what? I'm going to cut it off and use an example. So here we go. You see how it's the misconception that, hey, my strings are missing. I could have been locked up and sent to the mental hospital, because remember, they take your shoelaces and your string, anything a patient can use to hurt themselves, belt, etc. And so there are certain procedures that gives you the impression that, hey, it's for your own good. And they always go, yeah, it's for your own good, but it's not. It has to do with creating the facade of expert power. You're not going to acknowledge somebody's an expert unless they've gone through the white schools of thought, Yale, Harvard, Dartmouth, etc. And, MIT, Stanford, UCLA, Pepperdine, all the other schools that, gain renown in their fields, respective fields. So what has happened is I've gone to the white schools of thought and learned just as much as any of them. But at this point, I do not hold any degree. So it is kind of interesting, that how I have the expert power, not the psychiatrist. And in many other fields, I'm just as efficient as the teachers a lot of the time. I'm not going to say, there's a lot of fields out there that I don't know much about, but so you see, it's all about creating the facade that, hey, I know better. Why did the British wear the wigs? Why did they wear the little black thing? Because it has to do with the Roman court and the color of the Roman gods, okay? Remember, it had to do with Jupiter and Saturn, okay? And how they wear the earrings to listen to God, and how there were certain temples that wore certain colors, and that was one of them. Also, you had the symbolism in court. Remember, they used the patterns of nature, familiar patterns, familiar symbols, familiar spirits, familiar spells. All these things are part of pagan witchcraft that the elite believe in, and it has some truth to it. The psychological effects of the myths and the hidden truths in them as well, adding to their power. So it's about the people who know a little bit better, who have been let in on the secret that nobody really knows that much about anything, coming together and conspiring against everybody else as if they know. Constantly I see them collaborate and cover their tracks. And no one holds them accountable. If you think a cop isn't held accountable, what about these psychiatrists? Even though they're raping kids, no one's holding them accountable. You don't see any police in churches doing surveillance on priests, even though so many of them are molest little kids. There's a certain order to things, and black people have been unfairly put on the bottom. And we've been unfairly prejudged and misjudged, and the misconceptions of fools do not suffice for justice. No. You have to understand that the people are perplexed. They're completely confused, bewildered. They don't understand the nuances between freedom and liberty, the nuances between a free thinking society and a free behaving society, a free living society, and the nuances between a free thinking society that claims to have free speech and one that does not. And what a catch-22 is, and the tactics of the mafia, making you think you're getting a good deal, and you're getting a bad one. They brought the experts of lying, they brought the experts in psychology, sociology, psychiatry, pediatrics, they brought them all together, and they put them in the Freemasonic lodges as think tanks, different groups, Round Table Group, the Milner Group, the Knights of Malta, different think tanks, different business owners, different bankers, the different fields, and they all collaborate toward a common goal. And it's much like in Islam as well. It's just the Jews and the Christians have done the best, and now they're falling because God has judged them harshly. and they're bringing all the Christians down with them. So there's that front, and then there's the fact that the Jews will always have the upper hand as well. So the Christians are taking the brunt for the wars the Jewish hierarchy starts, and the most subordinated group is the black man, not the woman. The woman is supposed to serve the man and be responsible for maintenance. Okay, that is her role in society. That is even how she's built. Why when she gets pregnant does she get fat? Why doesn't it just happen overnight? Because she's supposed to hold down the household and, take care of the children. Obviously, God's saying that to her in so many ways. Why do they have a period? Because they were the ones who went astray. They don't know better. They always think they know better, and they lead us astray. Don't let them do it again. Don't trust the Eastern Star. Don't trust the female lodges. And don't trust the white racist lodges. Don't touch the black Uncle Tom lodges, or their schools of thought, or the schools that they've built in society. All colleges, the only use for them is to add on to the facade that you are a worthy candidate for a job. That's the only purpose for it. And the only purpose for a degree is to say that I have the equivalent of a mastership of this, a comprehension, a certain working comprehension of the subject. And we find that the people who excel in the subject, who got the best computer companies? Was it the guy who got the degree from some fancy fucking college? No. So over and over again, we see that it's the regular person like me that knows what he's talking about. Whether we're talking about Bruce Lee, Jesus of Nazareth, Moses, whether we're talking about Saul's story and Peter, it's always the people who have been victimized by the establishment and they're outraged at it and they don't go along with it, and all their life they're getting a hard time for it, and it's for a different reason than a criminal. It's because they stood up for what they believe in, and they've acted in a way that the faithful would, and the faithful are persecuted for Jesus' sake, and they're persecuted by a bunch of women. They're persecuted by a bunch of white supremacists. And remember, the two sides of the pyramid is the left and right wing. In the left wing, you have the neo-Nazis, okay? In the right wing, you have the white racists. And the idea is to demonize the white right wing, your white conservative racist wing, and to demonize your progressive. What does the progressive want? Environmentalists, feminist movement, gay movement. What do they want? They want to shape the world a certain way, and they want to demonize the right wing who would stop them. But at the end, they both want the white power structure on top to be on top. They just want them doing their agenda. The conservatives want them to conserve their white racist money and to spend it wisely. The liberals want them to use their white racist money to further their white neo-Nazi agenda of subjugating the minorities and subordinating them and making sure you have thoroughly infiltrated them and caused their deterioration from within. As you saw with the COINTELPRO with the Black Panthers, as you saw with the Grape Street Crips being used as snitches to break down the different Crip networks, and you saw the divide in the Crips, how they used the music industry, how they used the big industrial corporations like the mafia and the military industrial complex and the big industry that they built in the black neighborhoods. The mafia had vested interest with the white elite to get the blacks out of their parts of town, so they built up a facade and said, we love you, we're creating jobs, and all the blacks flocked to it. Then they got let down, and society degraded. It deteriorated. It became a hellhole of rats and people who don't understand, teaming up with the scum who do understand, who are bringing in the devil's agenda. And those are the Freemasons, those are the insiders, be it the insider trading or be it the inside of the Code of Silence, the inner circle of the prison guards and the institutions on the top levels, be it the inner circle of a company, a conglomerate, be it the inner circle of a Masonic lodge, the Propaganda Dei Lodge in Italy, be it the inner circle of the York Rite, Albert Pike, and those who paid him an annual allowance. He even got an annual allowance from the. Not only was he given the supreme title, He was given an annual allowance so he could further his work. That's how much they believed in it. It is the white power structure based on the Western European schools of thought, be it the Scottish school of thought, the York school of thought, the old Roman schools of thought, and the mix and the synergy and the collaboration of all of them together to form your Freemasonry. The white power structure and how they cement and maintain their structure. Thank you.